Today I'm going to be showing you how to make meringues. I'm going to be showing you just how easy they are. We're going to start by separating the eggs. I find the easiest way to do this is to crack the egg on the side of a dish. Just give it a gentle tap, separate it, and then I tip it backwards and forwards between the shell, making sure that you don't get any egg yolk into the meringue. Now that is really important. The egg yolk contains the fat, and if you get any part of that into the egg whites, it's not going to whip up, so you need to start again. So we're going to take the egg whites and add them to the machine. Now, as a standard rule, it's always double sugar to egg white. So that's a really good way for you to measure how to do your basic meringue. Never add all your sugar in one go, otherwise again, they will not whip up. So we're going to add 1/3 of our sugar into the bowl. So once you can see that it's actually formed a foam, so it's got to be holding its shape, you can just rein in another 1/3 of the sugar. Now that we can see it's really increased in volume, so it's thick, it's viscous, and it's holding its shape, that's when you add your last 1/3 of the sugar. And again, I'm going to lower the speed, rein it in, and then turn up the speed again. Okay, so what we're looking for here is that it's holding its shape. And if you take the whisk out, you can see it's not dropping from the whisk, even if you shake it. It's really solid. It's got a good, firm structure. Now, I just want to tell you, do not throw your egg yolks away. These cost money and they could make you a beautiful ice cream, a creme patissiere, or a creme anglaise. There's enough there for 250 millilitres of milk to make something truly wonderful. Okay, so to get this excess from your whisk, if you just touch the surface a little bit up and down, you'll see that it'll pull the meringue away from the whisk. So now we're going to fill our piping bag, and I'm going to have ready a tray and some parchment paper. I'm going to show you some different shapes. So I've got a large 1/2 inch plain nozzle and a 1/4 inch star nozzle there. The easiest way to fill the bag is to bring that top bit over your hand, twist the bag, pop it into the nozzle so nothing comes out the other end, and then fill into your bag. I'm going to add a little bit of this, just a tiny bit, onto the tray. And that's going to secure the paper in place. I'm going to show you how to make some beautiful, slightly different individual pavlovas. So with my nozzle, I'm going to just do one large squeeze onto the paper. And I'm going to, as I do that, I'm going to lift it up so I get a nice point on the top. Now I'm going to space them out because they will increase slightly in the oven. And then I'm going to show you how to make some smaller ones, which would be perfect for either petit fours or afternoon tea. For the afternoon tea and the petit four size meringues, I'm going to use the star tip. And again, we're going to stick the paper down. For the petit fours, I'm just going to do tiny little stars, piping onto the paper. Again, giving them a little bit of room. And then for the tea pastries, I'm going to pipe slightly at an angle, and I'm going to bring the nozzle over itself like that, creating a nice coil. There we are. Now they're ready to go in the oven. Now, the oven is very important. So if you want your meringues to be for a pavlova, and I personally like mine crisp on the outside, but soft and gooey on the inside, you're going to set your oven to 110 degrees centigrade, and you're going to bake them for about 20 to 35 minutes, depending on the size. If you like them to be really hard and a little bit crisp, maybe just for the petit fours, then you're going to bake them at 100, a lot lower, and they're going to dry out. And that's why they become very crisp. So once the meringues come out of the oven, the best way to check if they're done is to lift them up, and they should come off clean from the paper. And to cool them quickly, I'm just going to slide them off the tray onto the table. You can put them on a cooling rack if you want, but I find tabletop's fine. And the same for the large ones as well. But leave them on the paper. You can see they're just coming off beautifully, so we can tell that they're baked nicely. And we'll just make sure they all fit on there. And they won't take very long to cool, so we do need to make sure they're cool before we go ahead and finish them. This is the exciting bit. This is when we get to finish and make our plated dessert look absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful for your guests. And I'm going to show you just how to do that. So I'm going to be using the large nozzle that we piped the meringues with, and chantilly cream, which we've already shown you how to make that. So we're going to fill a bag. And then I just want to show you the inside of these meringues because they're beautiful and soft and marshmallowy. And how I'm going to show you that is I'm going to make a little bit of a hole. And can you see that? Can you just see how gorgeous and soft that is inside? So I'm going to make the hole a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to pipe some of the cream onto the plate first. And I'm going to put a little bit of the cream inside. Now, of course, you could add some of your fruit coulis to the cream if you wanted to make it fruit flavoured. But as I've got quite a lot of fruit going on, I'm not going to need to do that. So I'm going to make a little bit of a well in the centre there. And I'm just going to add some of my berries into that. Now, I've got these gorgeous assortment of berries here. So I'm going to add a few raspberries and some of these little fraises de bois, which are wild strawberries. And they're absolutely divine. Then I'm going to take my pavlova, turn it upside down, and I'm going to sit it on top. And that's just going to be a little excitement inside when you bite into or crack it open. Now we're going to decorate the plate. So again, I'm going to use some of these beautiful fruits. I want to make a cordon of these gorgeous fruits around the outside. So we don't want them all sitting in the same direction, so try to make it a little interesting. And then I've got these wonderful blackberries, so we'll add a few of those. Kind of focusing on the middle of the plate, so it's really eye-catching. A few blueberries. Of course, you can use any fruits that you might have, but at the moment, because it's summer, we have beautiful berries. But of course, if it's not summer, you could use tropical fruits like mango and pineapple and kiwi. Actually, I'm going to try and find some bartered raspberries to put onto there as well. And then a few of these darling little fraises de bois scattered about as well. Try to balance it so you feel like you have the right amount of fruit for the cream and the meringue. I've tucked mine all quite neatly in around there. And then I could add a little bit of mint for some greenery, or if you have them, a few edible flowers. Really, really just add that little touch of beauty onto the end. So first of all, I am going to pour my coulis over the top. And I like to, just so it makes a really good contrast, I'm going to pour that into the middle and let it dribble down because it looks so beautiful on the white meringue. And then a few little sprigs of mint. I love these little baby ones. Really make it pop. I think I'll have a slightly bigger one. I'm going to tuck him under that strawberry. And then I think just a tiny little bit of blue will really add to that. It really makes the red seem redder. When you use edible flowers, just make sure to check that they are edible. But, you know, all sorts of things at the moment, nasturtiums and calendula and, of course, marigolds, and all of those things are edible. These are cornflowers. And I think that is just a beautiful summer dessert for anybody. So now we're going to move on to finishing the afternoon tea and petit four meringues. So I've got a little pastry brush and some melted dark chocolate. And just to form a little barrier, I'm going to paint the back of the meringues with the chocolate. And what that does is when you fill in with cream, it creates a barrier to stop the meringues going really soft. So they hold for a couple of hours. And then for the little afternoon tea ones, I'm just going to dip the very bottom in the chocolate. So I'm going to dip it in, give it a little wipe, and just sit them down on the paper. Of course, if you want to add a little bit of flavour into that, you could then dip them from the chocolate into a little bit of orange zest or freeze-dried fruit. Okay. So I'm going to be using the star nozzle again to fill these, and more chantilly cream. And then if you pick up 1/2 of the meringue, hold it in your hand and pipe the cream along 1/2. Then sort of angle it so it's a little cut together at the bottom, and then push them together. Pipe the cream on, sandwich it, and pop it down. Now, a good thing to remember is that once you fill the meringues, they're only going to stay, you know, really nice for about 1 hour to 2 hours. After that, they start to get soft and sticky. So make your meringues, store them in a tin once they're baked if you're not going to use them straight away, and then fill them when you're ready. And that way they'll keep for at least a couple of weeks in a tin. Okay, these I'm just going to stick a couple together with no cream in between. You can put cream if you want, but if these are petit fours, they're just going to be absolutely delicious with the chocolate. Okay. So then I'm going to finish them with just more of our lovely fruit and flowers. And I've got some beautiful rose petals here. And I know that they're organic. But if you're not sure where they've come from, then you do need to wash them first. Make sure there's no insects or little creepy crawlies in there. All right, so I'm just going to finish these off. And then I'm going to move on to the petit fours. I think the important thing to remember here is that they're for afternoon tea, so they shouldn't be too big and too bulky. So make sure that the fruit's cut up into small pieces so that it's going to be easy to eat either with a small fork or just to pick it up with your hand. I think they look absolutely gorgeous. So I'm not going to do any more to them. I think they're absolutely perfect for our summer afternoon tea. Aren't these spectacular? I hope you'll make them yourself and that you'll join me again for more delicious patisserie soon.